Welcome to The Explainer, where we turn complex sources into clear, dynamic presentations. Today, we're cracking open a case file on a really deep philosophical mystery. What actually separates the things we can touch from the ideas we can't?
All right, let's get into it. We all kind of have a gut feeling about this. On one hand, you've got concrete stuff, a rock, a tree, you, me. They're physical, they take up space, you can literally point at them. And then you have abstract things, like the number 7 or the idea of justice. They don't seem to be anywhere, do they?
Seems pretty straightforward, doesn't it? Like an open and shut case. But, as you probably guessed, in philosophy, it's almost never that easy.
Because as soon as you bring in a few more persons of interest, our nice, neat categories just start to fall apart. Take democracy. Is it a physical thing? Well, no, but it for sure exists, and it has massive real-world effects. Or what about a fictional character, like Sherlock Holmes? Or a legal document, like the Spanish Constitution of 1978? Where do these fit? They don't really belong in either box.
Yeah, it's pretty clear our gut instinct just isn't going to cut it here. That simple line we thought we could draw in the sand, it's been totally washed away. And this, right here, is where our real investigation begins.
So our first official tactic is what philosophers call the way of example. You can think of it like a police lineup. We just point to a rock and say, see, that's concrete. Then we point to, say, the number 2 and go, and that's abstract. The hope is that everyone just kind of gets the idea. But as we're about to see, this method has a huge flaw. And this is where that whole lineup idea just breaks down. I mean, sets are supposed to be a classic example of an abstract object. But what about the set that has only one member, Joe Biden? Philosophers have a term for this. They call it an impure set. The set itself isn't a physical thing, but it's completely defined by a very physical person. All of a sudden, our way of example is totally stumped. Okay, so theory 1 stumbled right out of the gate. Let's switch gears and try a whole new line of inquiry. This is called the way of negation. Instead of trying to define abstract objects by what they are, this theory tries to define them by what they are not. Let's follow the clues. So our first big clue is that abstract objects have no location in space. You can't ask, hey, where is the number 7? It's not in your house, it's not on the moon, it's just nowhere. This feels like a really solid clue for telling our two categories apart. But then things get weird when you look at an example like chess. Now, chess itself is abstract. It's just a bunch of rules, not a physical board. And yet, we can say it was imported from India. We're giving it a location and a path of travel. How can something that's non-spatial be imported? This clue isn't nearly as solid as it looked. Let's check out the second clue from this approach. The thinking here is that abstract objects are basically inert. They have zero calls to power. A number can't knock you over. An idea can't start a fire. Concrete things make things happen in the world. Abstract things just kind of exist. And right away, you can probably see the problem with this. A novel, a song, a scientific theory, these are all abstract things. But can they cause things to happen? Absolutely. They inspire people, they cause huge emotional reactions, they lead to discoveries that physically change our world. This idea that they're causally ineffective just doesn't hold water.
So our investigation using negation has really just led us to a bunch of dead ends. The clues just keep falling apart under pressure. So it's time to pivot. Let's try a completely different strategy, one known as the way of abstraction.
This theory suggests we actually create abstract objects through a mental process. It goes like this. We start with something concrete, like 2 parallel lines on a page. Then our brain just ignores all their other features, their length, their color, whatever, and it isolates the one thing they have in common. In this case, that's their direction. And just like that, that shared property, direction, becomes our new abstract object. It's a really elegant idea, but it's no silver bullet. I mean, it works pretty well for concepts like directions and shapes, but it's way harder to figure out how you'd use this process to create something as massive and complex as the game of chess or the entire English language. What concrete things would you even start with? So this theory, as smart as it is, still leaves some of our biggest suspects unclassified. Okay, so we've followed all these different lines of inquiry. We've tried defining by example, by negation, by this process of abstraction, And every single time we run into these really confusing cases that break all the rules. So, after all of that, where are we? What's the solution to this whole mystery?
So what's the big reveal? Well, the most shocking clue of all is that there isn't one. The case is still wide open. As the source material from the Sanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy puts it, everybody agrees this distinction is fundamentally important, but there is no standard agreed-upon definition. The mystery remains unsolved. So was this whole thing a failure? Not at all. The real point of this investigation isn't about finding some simple label. The real value is in the process. It teaches us that our intuition is just a place to start, not the final answer. It pushes us to think way more clearly about what makes something real, and that helps us better understand all the complex systems we deal with every single day, from scientific theories to our legal system to the art we love.
And that brings us to the end of our explainer. But the real takeaway isn't an answer. It's a new tool for your brain. So I want you to look around you right now. Find one thing that you can now see as both abstract and concrete. You know, like the book on your shelf. It's a physical object for sure, but it's also a token of an abstract story. What else can you find that lives on that blurry line? The investigation continues, and now you're the detective.